Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us on UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30 on this first evening in July. And boy, we sure are kicking off the month of July with some gorgeous weather across northern Michigan. Seems like all of us are seeing some blue skies and some warm temperatures to, again, kick off the month. So, Joe, is that going to be the trend for, let's say, tomorrow?
Yeah, I think for most spots. Remember 6 months ago when it was New Year's Day?
Yep. We're all looking forward to these moments.
And we are, and it was a nice one. I mean, we wait all, a long portion of the year to get these nice days in here, and it was a nice day. The only thing tomorrow, Maya, much of the day will be dry, but I think later tomorrow afternoon, more so evening, could see a few, showers and storms rolling in. But the good news is it's not going to hang around very long for the 4th. Which looks good. By the way, I don't know if you have plans on Saturday, but it's looking really warm. We'll talk about that chance for the rain, and then just how warm it's going to get coming up a little later.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much, Joe. Let's start off with our top story tonight. We are just hours away from a deadline for Michigan lawmakers to finish the state budget. But there doesn't seem to be any common ground, and it could look like they could spend a long night trying to find it. Colin Roos heard their take on what's becoming a days-long impasse.
Representative Phil Skaggs says the main disagreement on the K-12 portion of the budget are what are called categoricals. The budget usually provides allotments for priorities like student homelessness and providing free lunches, but Republicans want to give a lump sum to schools to decide where that money goes. He blames Speaker Matt Hall and the GOP for what he calls procrastination, but Battle Creek Representative Steve Frisbee says Democrats aren't coming up with a counteroffer.
And the procrastination that we've seen from House Republicans is not our emergency. We remain dedicated to making sure that we're funding health care, funding our families, funding our schools, funding our roads.
If the Democrats are going to argue against our funding plan, they're arguing against the highest per pupil allotment that's out there. It's better than the governor's.
Frisbee says the state budget has grown by more than 40% in just 2 years and says his party wants to reverse an unsustainable path. Democrats say earmarks protect the schools most in need.
That was Colin Roos reporting. All right, now let's hear from a state lawmaker from our neck of the woods who is down in Lansing. Representative John Roth is joining us once again here on Unscripted. Representative, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely, Mike. Glad to be here.
So we're hearing a bit of news. So the Senate went home for the day. That's what we are learning. But the House is still in session. Can you update us on what's going on down there?
Absolutely. We're working on both the education budget and road funding. We're trying to get that done. We're going to send something over to the Senate more than likely tonight. But unfortunately, you are hearing what we're hearing. I believe the Senate is gone for the day, and we're hearing no voting, no attendance tomorrow for the Senate. So that's not a good sign. But we are going to continue to work through the night and pass some bills and send them over to the Senate to address education and road funding.
So since the Senate did go home, it sounds like you won't be able to meet your July 1st deadline to sign this budget.
That is correct. Unfortunately, that is going to be the case. Disappointed, obviously, the education budget. Our schools need to know what they need to look for going forward. So it's not where we wanted to be, but we'll continue to work through the night and see what we can get over to the Senate.
So does anything happen if you are exceeding this July 1st deadline?
No, before I got here, they passed that under the Snyder administration, a deadline to pass that budget, even though it had been before, it had been like September, because that's when our fiscal year is. And, but when they passed the bill to get it done, that deadline of July 1st, there's no penalty whatsoever. Now, the penalty is our folks back home aren't going to be happy with us, and we need to hear from them about it. That's not right, but there is no penalty, unfortunately.
So really, it's more of a goal than a strict deadline.
Yes, there's no question about it. And there was actually a pretty good article I just read on it, how it happened. And they actually moved it back from September to July 1st, which no one's really sure why they did it. But still, we need to work on it and get it done.
And has this happened before where you went over your budget over your limit for the budget?
The only time, my first year here, 5 years ago, we did pass a education budget, higher ed and K-12, got it done by July 1st, and then the rest of the budgets we did not get done until September. So it isn't unusual, but I don't think it's desirable either.
Right. So what are some of the biggest holdups as of right now in the House?
Absolutely. We rolled up a lot of categoricals. So when you look at our education budget, areas that are downstate seem to get a lot more categorical funding. So even though the foundation level's all even, it's the categoricals that add quite a bit of money to some downstate systems that we don't get up north. We rarely qualify for more than a couple categorical situations. So what we did was we put $12,000 in per student, but that's all the categoricals, and our local school districts can decide where that money goes. It's a lot more flexible, but it's more money. TCAPS, just to give you an idea, would get $11.1 million more in next year's funding than they got this year.
And are you confident that you will be done by the end of the night and have the education and the road budgets complete by tonight?
At least we're going to get them through. Absolutely. We're going to send something to the Senate. We'll see how we get the votes, make sure that we have enough votes to pass it, hopefully in a bipartisan situation, to get it over to the Senate. And maybe that forces their hand and they have to come back and do something. I don't know that's going to happen tomorrow. It may be next week. Maybe it's the week where we're scheduled to come back. July, I believe 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, we are scheduled to come back. You know, we can be called back at any time. So it's not anything that we can't overcome.
So with the Senate going home and the House still there working, I'm sure it's been a very long day. What are some of the different emotions that everyone is feeling today?
You know, it's tough. We're getting into that late part of the first half of the season, and a lot of times the education budget and the higher ed budget kind of is a relief to get that done so we can go home for a couple weeks and talk to our constituents and do things back home. I think there's mixed emotions here, some disappointment. Some people are tired. I will say that I've heard from several that want to go home for a couple weeks and regroup and get our energy back up so we can continue on.
Right. So what do you want your constituents to know who are at home watching this right now, waiting for this budget to eventually be approved?
You know, we're working on it. We are negotiating our budget. I don't think anybody's going to get exactly what they want, and that's kind of what happens in divided government. But understand that we are still working to try and get that done, and we're not giving up. We're here. If we need to come back next week again, we'll do it. It's not scheduled, but we are willing to do it. So we will get the K-12 and higher ed budget done in a time frame that I think our schools will still be happy.
All right, Representative Roth, thank you so much for joining us from down in Lansing and giving us an update on where things stand tonight. We'll be sure to keep our viewers at home updated on where things go from here. But switching gears now, this time of year, northern Michigan has a lot of visitors, but also not just people, sometimes our native wildlife. And sometimes when you combine those two together, people and wildlife, it can increase the odds of human-animal interaction, and that can lead to some dangers for the animals. So tonight, a word of warning and a request from the people who have chosen to help those animals when the two worlds do collide. Here's Mark Shillette reporting.
You know, I follow my passions and they don't always lead to where the money is.
Samantha Wolf, like a lot of us, appreciates the native animals that surround all of us every day. But her passion and commitment to their well-being may eclipse most of us.
I've been interested in it since I was a child and realized in 2021 there was a place for me to step in and help out in this field.
And to help out, she co-founded the Sleeping Bear Wildlife Fund, a Benzie County animal rehabilitation center with a simple mission.
We help injured and orphaned native animals.
And lots of different types of them.
We have 32 animals in care right now. We have 17 opossums, 7 squirrels, red squirrels, 1 weasel, 1 porcupine, and 6 foxes.
Typically, they get a call that an animal needs help.
We're on a DNR list of permitted rehabbers in the state, and we will help out, whether it's taking the animal in, rehabilitating it, and re-releasing it into the wild.
They're busy, and this time of year, a little more so.
There's a lot more going on. There are a lot more interactions with wildlife, and particularly in the summer, we see with everyone here from coming up north.
More people up north and more up north animals doing their thing.
This is also an important time for turtles crossing roads, laying eggs. They just are trying to get to the best habitat to lay those eggs, and sometimes there's a road in the way.
So a couple of requests from folks who do what Samantha does.
Don't rely on Dr. Google. If you find an animal, look for a DNR licensed rehabber.
Getting the right help for an injured or abandoned animal is a good start, and helping those who step in is much appreciated.
We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so we fund on grants and donations. We take donations when people bring animals in. We often receive checks from people who have heard about us, and then we apply for a lot of grants as well.
And right now, they could also use cleaning supplies, paper towels, nitrile gloves, and if you happen to have a full freezer.
With 6 foxes and a weasel to feed, they all eat whole prey every day, and so that adds up to more than $50 a meal per day. So we are looking for, if you have leftover venison or something deep in your freezer that you're cleaning out, we may be able to take that off your hands for you, and it could go to a good cause.
Nature can usually take care of itself, but add a few more humans in the mix, worlds collide, and sometimes a little help goes a long way, be it from the folks at Sleeping Bear Wildlife or those who step up to support them.
I really love this area, and I think an important part of it is the wildlife and the landscapes that make it up.
That was Mark Gillette reporting. And while Sleeping Bear Wildlife Fund serves a pretty large area, there's actually a very large network of licensed and regulated rehabilitation centers all across the state. So if you have any questions or concerns, or you don't live near Benzie County, you can reach out to one near you. And we have all of that information and more over on our website, UpNorthLive.com. Well, now that it is the month of July, all eyes are on, of course, July 4th. And as we prepare for the holiday weekend, you're being asked to be mindful of those who have a hard time around fireworks. Russ Knopp is a board member of the Michigan chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, and he says that the loud noises and bright colors of fireworks can sometimes be a trigger for those who have Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. So if you care for someone with those conditions, one way you can prepare is by closing the blinds and playing some calm noises.
It really is that anxiety and agitation. You can see people getting agitated right away. They might start pacing. They might want to wander to try to get away from the noise and the brightness. So pay attention to those behaviors because they'll be triggered pretty quickly.
And other ideas are keeping a gathering small, and you can also plan activities that they are familiar with. And it can be helpful to just warn the person ahead of time that, there will be fireworks and other loud activities happening. Well, let's take a look at our question of the day related to fireworks. Do you plan on watching fireworks on the 4th of July this year, whether that be a community display or maybe just in your own backyard? Are you planning on having a little fireworks show this year? Scan the QR code on your screen right now. That'll take you over to our website where you can vote. And as of right now, actually kind of surprising, 66% of voters are saying no, that they do not plan on watching fireworks. But of course, like we just heard from that story, fireworks can be very triggering. We know also for veterans and people with pets, so maybe not a huge surprise there. But if you want to join in on the conversation, you can head over to our Facebook page and look for our post with our question of the day. Leave a comment there. It looks like we have about 15 comments right now. I'll read a few of those toward the end of the show. But right now, let's take a quick pause. Joe will have much more on your forecast for the next couple of days, including the 4th of July, straight ahead.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Absolutely beautiful day all across northern Michigan. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't mind a few more days like today, sunny and warm, and it sounds like we are getting a few more days exactly like today. But Joe, just looking ahead to Friday, how's the 4th of July looking?
Good right now. I mean, a little warm, but you know, I guess if of all the holidays, the 4th probably should be the one,
Yeah.
right? Looks pretty good. It was comfortable today. Tomorrow, the issue is going to be maybe a couple showers and storms later in the day. And then Thursday and Friday, not bad. It's just going to be warm. And then Saturday, probably hot. So, but we're in July, right? We'll miss that next January when it's like 20 below. You know, we'll remember these days. Let's take a look at our temperatures right now. Nice evening. It's 80 on the dot at Traverse City. Mount Pleasant, 80 as well. Everybody else is in the 70s across the area. Sault Ste. Marie, 70, same thing right now on Mackinac Island. It's been dry. Now, yesterday we did have a few showers and storms. That has not been the case today. You can see clear skies, just a few puffy clouds. That's it across northern Michigan. But if you go upstream, so we're going to head north, right there. There you see Lake Superior there on the bottom of the screen. There is a cold front way up there. This boundary is nothing significant, but that is what is going to drop toward northern Michigan later tomorrow, and that will bring in that chance for a couple of scattered showers and thunderstorms. You can already see up north in Canada, there are a few showers and storms there, and we may see some of that riding in here later tomorrow afternoon and evening. So let's take a look at Stormcast future radar. Nothing going on tonight until maybe late up in the UP, maybe a shower. Even if you get one, it'll pass through quick, kind of dampen the pavement and then move on. Not a big deal. Much of the area remains dry through the afternoon. So actually a decent day coming up tomorrow as well. It is tomorrow evening when we notice up in the UP and then in northeast Wisconsin, see these storms that develop? Maybe around the Houghton Lake area as well. And then these will kind of ride into northern Michigan tomorrow evening. So I point that out because much of the day will be dry and pleasant, and then there's that chance for some storms later tomorrow. I'm not sure what the act is at the National Cherry Festival tomorrow night, but maybe the little rain, we'll keep an eye on that. That'll head south, and then Thursday, we're back to dry weather, and looks pretty pleasant. We'll run this out even beyond, so there's Thursday afternoon, and then here is the 4th of July. Looks good for the parades in the morning, 9, 10, 11 o'clock, and then, you know, grilling out, taking the boat out, golfing, whatever you have planned. And of course, the fireworks displays Friday night, not too bad. As far as any severe weather risk tomorrow, it's minimal. We are in a marginal risk there, the darker shade of green, for maybe a stronger storm or two, but time will tell. It doesn't look like anything though that will be very organized or widespread. National Cherry Festival forecast, there it is. Again, scattered late afternoon or evening thunderstorms tomorrow, mid-80s. Thursday and Friday, no issues, close to 90, inching in on that on Friday. And here's the 4th of July weekend forecast, 80s to around 90 on Friday, dry. Saturday, upper 80s to mid-90s Saturday. And then Sunday, cooler, but Sunday, it will come at the cost of some rain. There's a cold front coming in, so chance for some rain on Sunday. And then beyond that, we do cool back down into the 70s, but that's pretty comfortable next Monday and Tuesday. So, you know, it's going to be a little warm, but I would say overall this is a pretty typical July forecast.
All right, Joe, thank you so much for that. Let's take another quick break, but we will check in with Sports Director Harrison Beebe coming up in just a few minutes. Well, the Tigers had a break yesterday, and that break extended a little longer than everyone was expecting. Their series opener against the Nationals postponed today due to weather, but still some Tigers news we can talk about with our sports director, Harrison Beebe, live from our content center. Hey, Harrison.
Yeah, actually, that's all I had, so
I stole your thunder.
We'll see you guys later.
Wait.
No, we do have, timely manner. You might have devoted 3 hours to watching a baseball game tonight. Well, now you can spend a couple minutes voting to see if we can get 3 Tigers to be all-star starters. It's been a while since we've had a lot of Tigers in the mix to start the all-star game. Of course, this is all fan vote driven, but these are your finalists, really. They're up. Gleyber Torres is up with one other guy for second base in his first year in a Tiger uniform, and then Riley Green and Javi Baez are in contention for the 2 remaining outfield spots. Aaron Judge has already locked up his spot with the New York Yankees for one of the outfield spots in the American League. No shock there. But Maya, just listen to some of these stats to really hammer home why these guys are here. Javi Baez having a great bounce-back year in a Tiger uniform, batting .285, 9 homers, 36 RBI. And we mentioned, where is... I'm lost. Well, we'll just jump to Riley Green since he's right in front of me right now. .296 batting average for Riley, 19 homers, 63 RBI, hoping to make his second straight All-Star game. And there's Torres, .284 with 9 homers and 43 RBI. So productive seasons for them. And we got to believe Tarek Skubal is, of course, going to be there as well. You don't vote for the pitchers. That is a nod by the league, I believe, to determine, and the coaches to see who will start the game. Got a feeling if he doesn't start, Skubal will at least be there in the All-Star festivities in 2 weeks. So cool stuff. If you can't watch a Tiger game tonight, you can at least spend a few minutes and maybe help get some of them to Atlanta for the All-Star game.
And how can people vote?
We actually have a link. I know MLB.com is the main source for voting, obviously, but if you just want to get around the ordinary, you can head to our website, UpNorthLive.com, and go into the sports tab. We have a link to the Tiger story and how you can vote directly and submit those votes by tomorrow at noon. Your deadline is until, so you have some time left. And yeah, if you want easy access to that, you can head to our website, UpNorthLive.com, and click on the sports tab.
Yeah, and like you said, if you're planning on watching that Tigers game, just use that time to vote, because I think you can vote as many times as you want, right?
No, I actually think it is limited now, at least in this stage. I know there's been earlier voting. Maybe you could vote as many times then. But yep, you got the chance to get 3 of them there.
All right, Harrison, thank you so much for joining us. Let's take another quick break, but we'll check back in with our question of the day coming up next.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Well, we are just 3 days away from the 4th of July now, so our question today is, do you plan on watching fireworks on the 4th of July? As you can see, 65% of people are saying no, 35% yes. You can still vote by scanning the QR code on your screen right now. Over on Facebook, Marty says no, staying home to keep my dog calm. Anna says yes, I'll be watching at home. Carl, yes, at Turtle Creek, or rather Turtle Lake. Lori says no, too many people. If you want to join in on the conversation, as always, you can do that over on our Up North Live Facebook page, but we are all out of time here on Unscripted. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope to see you back here at 11 o'clock tonight.